live. I was doing that. I got press record as well. So I know we are ready. Okay. I believe we are ready. Hello to all our viewers in YouTube and everywhere else in the world. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Father Talk Show. It's a special day, and happy Father's Day in advance to all the kings out there. You're doing an amazing and wonderful work. The Father Talk Show, it is where we inspire, we motivate, encourage men to become the best fathers and the best kings on earth, because I believe men are kings on earth. So the Father Talk Show is set up to appreciate them, the most amazing and wonderful work that they're doing out there. My name is Margaret Thorli. I am the CEO of Hope and Restoration, which is a not-profitable organization. I want to welcome first the kings in the house. Happy Father's Day. And of course, we got the amazing, wonderful, special guest speaker. We have to have, come on, guys. I honor you, your kings. We have to have queens in the house as well, so we can balance the talk. So I got the most amazing, wonderful, the queen in the house herself as our guest speaker, Angela O'Connor. So we are here today to inspire you, to motivate you, and to encourage you, because the kings, they don't know they are sitting on a hot seat today. And I'm going to pass this on to my amazing, wonderful king, Daniel.
Yeah.
Today he's hosting the program. Daniel, take it over.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome everyone to the Father's Talk Show. This is it's a very special one. Margaret was telling me to share a little bit about the history of the Father's Talk Show, and I thought to myself, we've been doing it for about 3 years, but she said it's only been 2 years, literally. It was October 2022. And Margaret invited me to be one of the first guests in the show and to share what I knew about parenthood. And yeah, it was absolutely amazing show and really enjoyed it. And since then, we have had so many amazing guests. And you know, all these guests talking about nutrition, parenthood, the legal aspect, you know, when you split up. And yeah, it's been absolutely a great experience, and we've had lots of fun as well. There's been lots of smiles on the show as well, and the queens here today, you know, are here to represent that side, and us, myself and Lushen as well, to represent the males here. So firstly, thank you very much for joining us, and without further ado, I'm going to introduce our two guest hosts. And Lushen Sutherland, please tell the audience a little bit about yourself and why you're here.
Okay, my name's Lushen Sutherland. I reside in North London, the edge of North London, England, in the UK. I'm a graphic designer by profession. I have 2 kids, a son and a daughter. My daughter being 11 and my son being 7 years of age. A single father, and I was invited onto the platform by Margaret. Myself and Margaret met a couple of years ago. I think it was not long after the lockdown, and it's just amazing how things can work. Some people say it's coincidence. I see it's something a bit more divine, and she was just hosting it was a business thing for fathers, for entrepreneurs, and for single fathers, and it was really, really powerful, really, really amazing. And from there, a relationship just built, and here I am, you know. And I have to say, it's been an honor to know of Margaret. She's so knowledgeable, humble, funny, confident and youthful, and she really is supportive. And yeah, she really is an honor,
Great.
And here I am.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to have you on the show again, because this is the second time you've been
Yes.
on. I think the second, not the third, yes? Second.
Yes, the second
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. And so our next guest, Angela Connor, please tell the audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do.
Absolutely. So, hello, everyone. My name is Angela Connor. If you can see in my tagline, I go by Mistress Angela. I live in the U.S. in Atlanta, Georgia, with my two kids. I am the primary parent for those two teenagers that I have. I am an entrepreneur. I have an organization where I work with nonprofits, and then I have an organization where I work with the part that has my name, Mistress Angela. I talk about intimacy. I talk about sensuality, love, and relationships as a parent, as a single person, as an adult. So that's a little bit about what I am and what I do. So happy to be here. And Margaret, I love you from the first time we shared a stage together. So thank you so much for having me here today.
You're welcome. Thank you. Co-host, shall I ask the questions
Oh,
or
I was going
you?
to say,
I
think
think in this case, we were expecting two more guys, but I believe maybe the time difference not quite there. But so I'll be then interviewing the men here. Okay, so let's fire up on the question that I have for you guys. All right. I think because for me, I believe in terms of fatherhood in the 2024, this 21st century, it's really changed. And I'm sure many of you here can agree with us from our background, our parent bringing us up, and the fathers in our lives in those days, how they kind of, if they are in our life, what they like, all right? But now it's slightly different. So I'm going to kickstart off, all right? Fatherhood. How has the role being a father has changed? Just from you, the relationship you had with your father and the relationship you have with your children. How has that changed, looking at what's happening around there? So may I kickstart with you, Lushen, please?
Okay, so that's how fatherhood has changed myself in regards to my own upbringing.
Yes, and also you being a father in this 21st century.
I think being from a Caribbean background, obviously English Caribbean, Caribbean descent, but we know we say it's a stereotype, but unfortunately, it's not a stereotype in regards to absentee fathers within the Caribbean community. Those which are basically, I'm just going to be quite frank, those that are descendants of the slave trade. I've mentioned that deliberately with absentee fathers. So are fathers which don't really fulfill their full role. So in my experience was, my father was around, but it was just typical, would say, there's no disrespect to him, just being straight, Caribbean, just a Caribbean attitude of wanting to, not all Caribbeans, but just wanting to party and enjoying themselves, but putting that first really, instead of other, instead of taking responsibility in other areas for the things which matter. And so then obviously there was relationships outside of the marriage as well as. So my mum and dad split up when I was 18. I have two other brothers and a sister which are younger than me. I wouldn't say it necessarily affected me. Well, didn't affect me as much as what affected the younger ones. At the time, they would have been, well, my youngest brother would have been at a place where he really would need a father figure around. Even though that was kind of me, from there onwards, it's just not the same as having your actual father around. So we've seen the repercussions of that. From there onwards, I would say it's I've I've seen the damage of what it does. Obviously, as well through other family members, like cousins and aunts and uncles and all that stuff. It's the same thing, you know, and you see the damage that it does. And obviously, there's other children outside of the married stepbrothers and all that type of stuff, and it does bring damage, and it really damages the children. And so, with myself, I'm totally against. I'm not in for separation, you know. Obviously, we know that there are situations when it's inevitable, but at the whole, I'm not one that advocates for separation. You do everything you can to keep the family together, you know, and which is kind of ironic because I'm actually a single father, you know. So, but as I said, you do everything to keep the family together, you know, for the children. It's for the children's best interest. It's as simple as that. And so, in that aspect, it molded me in the right way. Something good has come out from the experience. I'll have to say as well, in regards to, this is one thing that I've always used, and it's an experience that I've had with bringing up the children. And within the Caribbean way of bringing the children up, it's different from, I would say, English. I'll be straight, white English ways of bringing up the children. It's different. And the children's mum is white English, and it is within the Black Caribbean community. They can be quite harsh when it comes to bringing up the children. It's like, do as I say, do as I say, not necessarily not do as I say, not as I do. And it's they don't really have a choice. So you kind of bark after the children. It's quite rough, you know. And I used to be like that with my children. I used to be barking after my kids. I do this, do that, blah 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 blah, and quite strict and harsh. And on their other side of the family, it wasn't the case. It was choices. For example, if you want something to eat, you can have a choice, but you're going to have to eat. Okay. And in Caribbean background, you don't get a choice. You get what you're given, you know. And I know there's a fair balance. You know, a child doesn't know what's good for their self, you know, but it should be a bit of leniency sometimes if they want to have what they want, you know. And so that's just one example. And so and how I was acting as the way I was kind of brought up. And then I'm a man of God, and I remember the Lord just saying something to me. I was sitting down at the table, and he was like, "You need to stop being so harsh with your children. It's not the right way to be, because you're causing rejection to your kids." And I saw it. I realized I'd be at the table, and they was actually frightened of themselves, frightened to ask a simple question. I remember my son wanted to ask whether he wanted, I think, if, for example, ketchup or something else on the table. And I could see that he was fearful to ask for that question. And that really hit home. That really hit me hard, you know. And I would like to say that in the grand scheme of things, really, I wasn't, deep down, I've got a lot to give my kids. And on the other side of the fence, it may be a little bit different, but they were very, 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 very open and loving. And so I noticed that they would obviously, they will be more, what's the word I'm looking for? Okay, they would be more led to the other side of the family. So basically I was pushing them away, just by my tone of voice and how I was. And it made me really see something there, and I really changed my ways in that area. And they actually softened to me. And I know there's other situations going on which probably didn't help. I was probably a little bit highly strung at the time, but still, it's no excuse. And I quickly changed my ways then, and I started to see it, how it's a negative effect, especially within the Black community, in regards to their children. You know, that way of bringing up your kids is just not right. It brings a lot of damage, and it actually brings in rejection. Even though your parents are there, it brings in, I'll call it a spirit of rejection, that they just feel alienated and ostracized. And it's not good. And it can bring in anger, fear, And you see the repercussions of that, of some type of straight of how young Black children or young Black adults or teenagers. And you can see that some of it actually stems from a type of parenting. And don't get me wrong, there's pros and cons, but overall, it is really detrimental. And yeah, that's what's really coming to me from you asking me this question.
Thank you so much for that. Thank
Yeah.
you. Listen, no, thank you so much. What about you, Daniel, in
Do you know
terms
what?
of being a father in the 21st century? You
Yeah,
know,
it's similar to Lushen's experience. So, my experience was very similar. It's like, I come from a Polish background, and my mum was like the kind of the head of the household, and it was either her way or the highway, and kids didn't have a say, and you had to comply or else. My dad was a bit more mellow and chilled, probably because he was a psychiatrist. So that was something to do with it. But it was still that energy of basically kids are there to listen to their parents. And I didn't actually feel listened to when I was a kid, not at all. I didn't feel heard. Didn't really, can't remember a single time where my parents ever said they loved me. I don't know about you guys, if I ever said that to you. I can't remember a single time where they said that. Whereas now, when I grew up and I was a parent, I knew I was going to become a parent. I realized the way I was raised, that was not how I was going to raise my kids. So I'm a man that always reads and needs knowledge and absorbs knowledge. So I read a lot of parenting books, and this was before I became a father. So I read a lot. And so I learned a lot of how, I remember a book I read called Unconditional Parenting by Alfie Cohen, where I don't know, you recognize the book. And that was a very unique way of parenting. And it came from love. It was all about, are you making this decision out of love, or you're making it out of fear? Because you can make the same decision, but make it out of love, and that will bring out a more positive outcome. But you can make an equally the same decision, or it seems to be, out of fear, and that will bring out a negative outcome. So it's all about your energy and where you're coming from. And if you're angry and upset, you have to first find a way of processing that emotion, clearing it out of your system, so you can come from love. And because of the pain in my past, when I was came to parents, I realized that, hold on, I'm still got fear in me. There's still pain. So I need to work on myself and clear that in order to parent. I know Lushen's gone through that journey himself. So I think nowadays, what's changed is, in general, fathers are a lot more conscious, or parents in general are a lot more conscious of the impact of their words and of their energy to their children. But I think it's also you've got to be a bit wary, because you don't want to go too much the other way, because a lot of times and my generation felt like we wanted love from our parents. But if you don't get that, and now you become a parent, then you want love from your children, and you've got to be careful. That's not your job. Yeah, and it's very dangerous. If you want love from your children, you're not going to make good decisions. So you have to be very aware of that. And so that's just like my 2 cents.
it's a good 2 cents. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, Angela, just summarize what our fathers here, they've been so honest and so truly, they've really opened up their hearts here. So, and you being also a single mother as well, kind of bringing up children, just round up for us here. What do you think? What's your thoughts?
Wow. So the similarities of us growing up, how we didn't hear love when we were growing up, right? We didn't hear that. It was, you're seen, not heard. So now to flip it, as Daniel was saying, now we go to the other extreme sometimes and we give love and don't balance it out and want a lot of love back from our kids, right? So the conversation from growing up in the islands to Poland, right? If I remember correctly, Daniel. Um, and then if you think about the US and all over, it's the same conversation everywhere. The love piece is truly a major part of it, but then balancing how to teach kids respect is one of the things that's still across the board. And our kids now have information overload. So when we were growing up, our parents' word was bond. We didn't have the information that kids have now. So they challenge in a different way, and bringing that balance back into parenthood is one of those things that, regardless of what your stature is, single or with your partner, that is, I see somebody else is joining. There's one of the huge factors that's changed over time. So thank you for being vulnerable and sharing those experiences growing up, because I was the same, definitely the same.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. So you can truly identify what the men are speaking about, you know. Thank you so much. Lushen, I'm going to come back to you. Guys, we're going to now, because of time, and I really want to give our guest speaker enough time for her to share as well. Right. Lushen, you came with something to do rejection. All right. It's something we don't talk about. Even we now that grow up having that background, and also our children. How do you feel rejection? How does it impact our children? Now I'm going to put time on each question now. You got 2 minutes to answer that, Lushen, because we've got a lot of children out there. I'm not sure if it's the same in the States, but for us here, we got a lot of young Black men. They are angry. They are running around. Could that be because of that rejection feeling? 2 minutes, Lushen,
Okay,
please.
it's a deep one. It needs a long time, but no worries. 2 minutes. I'll get to the point. I think, yeah, what it does, it's so much negativity comes from it, so much, and I think the worst case is what comes that can lead the dark side of it leads to murder. You know, and you see that obviously you can see that in certain demographics, or should I say, or nationalities, more apparent. You know, so that's the really dark side of it. You see it more and more now played out across the board, I would say, regardless of color of skin or nationality, due to the breakdown of the nuclear family and absentee fathers. That's why you're getting the murder rates going through the roof, especially with young men, regardless of color. You know, and then you've got obviously the effect that it has with women. They don't have a father figure with young girls, and they become into detrimental relationships, multiple men, multiple partners, and what else is there? Multiple partners and having children early, you know, and because they're just looking. What it does, the bottom line is because that rejection of pushing of they don't feel as though they've had somebody there that actually loves them. Therefore, it brings about a loathing within oneself. And anybody who knows that's very detrimental. There's so much can come from having a self-loathing or a neediness, you know. And that is really the damage. That is really the damage of it in a nutshell, generally. You know, there's so many other avenues that we could go down here. And yeah, that's what I've really seen. And that's the best I can answer the question within the 2 minutes. I don't know if I have any longer.
No, I'll come back to you. I just wanted to understand, you know, the rejection, because obviously we as adult now, we still kind of feel that impact on us as well. We still feel that. So but I would be coming back to, what about you, Daniel?
Yeah, I think for me, rejection, I constantly felt rejected in my childhood. You know, I felt like I wasn't good enough. Felt like my parents didn't appreciate me, and Yeah, it was a very painful experience. However, I view it a little bit differently now. And I view it more of a kind of a deeper sense, a spiritual sense, where maybe I came into this lifetime with a feeling of rejection that was always present, that was previously present. Maybe I lived different lives, and that feeling of rejection never managed to resolve itself. So, in order to bring it up consciously, I needed to attract and the kind of parents and the that I had uh, to uh, to bring up that rejection, so I could finally heal it. That's the way I view it now. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but now I see, if I view it that way, now all of a sudden the way my parents, that my experience with my parents is now a gift rather than it being detrimental. I just don't know whether that's true or not. Did I come into this lifetime with these unworthy feelings, and in order to bring it up, they needed to like create that experience of rejection in me? I don't know. So yeah, I know it's a bit of a different answer, but yeah.
But you know what? That is really, really good because I love what you said at the end of it in terms of how you feel about the feeling of rejection, how you look at it now in your life in this present time. So that is absolutely, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. Uh, Angela, just summarize this and then we can welcome Charles. So just joined us. Yeah, so what do you think about that rejection? How is that impacting when our children feel rejected in some ways? How has that impacted them, looking at what's happening in the US as well as here? What is your thoughts into that?
So it shows up in self-doubt. It shows up in procrastination. It shows up in being fearful of being who they are and actually going for the dreams. When you are full of self-doubt, you don't know that you're smart enough to apply to a certain college or apply to a certain job. When the self-doubt is there, the fear is there, and you sometimes become immobilized. So a lot of times we see our kids that are just stuck in one space in a room playing games, where that's where the self-doubt is coming in. They're too fearful to go out and live life.
Yeah,
And
it's very true.
that just shows up.
Thank you so much for that. Charles, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Well,
It's
thank
nice
you.
having you here. It's nice. We just kind of started in asking questions, and I would love to hear. I'm sure most of us here would love to hear your story, Charles. So we're just asking the questions. I mean, you've been a father for how long? You've been married how long, Charles?
I, I've been married for 57 years.
Hey,
Well, that's awesome. That is awesome.
57, 57. Yeah.
Yes,
Might
so
as
we
might
would,
as well might as well continue on now. I made it this far.
and we hope that you'll make it even further. So in that case, my question to you, I couldn't wait to come and you joining us because being married that long, being a father that long, what changes that you have seen in the fatherhood from your days to what it is right now in this 21st century?
Well, I have a lot to say on that subject because I did grow up in another time. I have to say this before I continue. Do I owe all these wonderful folks, including all of you, an apology? I was thinking that I would come on at 8 o'clock, and I was going to join you about 15 till, and I'm deeply sorry if I showed up late. I didn't intend to.
No
Um,
worries. No
well,
worries.
I it's really on my mind this morning. I just put up a post on LinkedIn about my daddy, wishing everybody a happy Father's Day, and I talked about my daddy. Uh, I was born in 1946, And the man that raised me was born in 1918. And when you think about the life that my daddy lived, in 1929, he was 11 years old when the stock market crashed, and he grew up in a very rural area of Nicholas County, Kentucky. Just lived way out in the country in a lifestyle that with his father and 7 siblings, it was just a different world. They still quite often they just lived off of the land and raised their own food and hunted and fished. But Daddy, I'll try to keep this brief. Daddy was what I call an old-fashioned father. He was never my friend. Today, fathers talk about, they want to be buddies with their kids, and they get down in the floor and wrestle around with them and have activities that put them pretty much on the level of their children. Daddy was a kind, gentle man, but he never allowed the line between him being my father to blur. We did a lot of things together. We went fishing together. We hunted together. We got out in the yard and passed the ball back and forth with each other. I was with him a lot. If he went to town, I was riding along with him. And we spent a lot of time together, and he was a loving man. But Daddy had rules, and he enforced the rules, and they were fair, and the intent of them was to make me a well-mannered, respectful child that would grow up to be a man. And if he thought I needed a spanking, that's what I got. It was back in those times. But he was real big on teaching me manners. He never talked about what I was going to be when I grew up. Never really discussed that. He wanted me to get a good education, but he wanted me to be a good man. And he figured that once I got grown, I'd find my own way. But his job was to teach me things that he felt like I should know before I was gone. I had this sense, as I've looked back on it, that Daddy's whole attitude was, I've got this little boy to raise, and he's going to be grown and gone before I know it. And there's some things he needs to know before he gets out there on his own. And so, although he never once used this word, authority, Daddy gave me a sense of authority. He was the authority in my life, and I was responsible to him and to the rules of the house, and he enforced them. And I feel like a lot of this is missing today. On old-fashioned fathers, I think the most important thing is fathers today need to think of their priorities toward their children. They need to spend time with their children. I know Dad has to get out and make a living. And I remember my daddy coming home from work tired. And that was a part of the things that I learned from him as well. But he spent as much time with me as he possibly could, and we talked, and he philosophized with me, and was just kind of my mentor. And then when we reached the point, I tell a story in my book about the day I became a man. I'll tell it here. I don't know how much time I have. I could talk all day about
Minutes,
this.
couple more minutes, because I want to hear your side of the story in terms of you now being a father. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So let's
I,
hear you now, how you parents, a couple of minutes, because we just had another
okay.
guest that just joined us.
Okay, thank you. As a father, I raised my kids pretty much the same way Daddy raised me, and with the same result. Once the raising was done, my daddy became the best friend I would ever have. Once I could look him square in the eye, flat-footed, and he acknowledged that I was a grown up, we became buddies. And I raised my son, had two girls too, and but I raised my kids pretty much the same way. And once they were grown up and left and went out to find their own way, uh, they just became my best friend. My son and I, it's just the reverse of with me and my daddy. I'm the old man now, and he's my son. He's 55, and we still spend at least one day together every week, usually on a Friday. Uh, we get together and just hang out all day long, and we have a lot of mutual interests. And so children are such a delight in all stages, but I think the best part is just seeing them all grown and having their own families. And uh, I have 7 grandchildren now. I call them my cookie bandits, and they're all growing up now. The oldest one's 20, and the baby's 14. But they'll always be my cookie bandits. I don't care how old they get, and I'm looking forward to another generation of cookie bandits, and hope to see them before I'm gone. I'm 78 now, and I have no idea how much longer I have, but uh, every day is a special day. And at 78, you younger folks out there, and that's every one of you today. Uh, at 78, I'm having the time of my life. When they call this the golden years, I can relate to that. Did I answer your question, Miss Margaret?
Yes,
I,
sir, you indeed. You've answered our question. Thank you so much. And I
yes,
love the
ma'am.
parts. Yeah, you have. And I love the parts where you shared the relationship that you had with your father. And I love the part where you said, the boundary that your father put in place. It was clear. His
Yeah,
authority, his role, that was very clear. And I believe that is missing in in this 21st century fatherhood. I feel that is
yes,
missing. We're trying to be the best friend to our children. And I love the transit to it, you being a father, bringing up your own children and the relationship you had with them and to what you have with them today. That is absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much for that.
I love
thank
the
you,
Well,
fact
ma'am.
that you still call him daddy. I think
Well,
that's amazing.
he, we're Southern folks, and that's more common, I think, in Texas and the places in the South. But uh, it's funny, when I was a little boy, I called my mom mommy, but she became mom just for some reason. She just became mom, but daddy was always daddy. And he uh, just kind of a term of endearment that really, uh, to say that, just it does something to my mind. It's just a special loving term that means a lot to me. My kids call me Dad. None of them called me Daddy. They call me Dad, but he was
Thank
my
you.
daddy.
Oh, that is so, oh my God, you melt my heart. It feels so good. Thank you so much. We've got our guest, other guest here, Thomas. Cotton, thank you so much for being here and getting here. I do understand the time difference. I really do, because I've been on the other side as well. Well, I've logged in late and the whole thing is just finishing. But welcome.
I looked at my email and I saw your email and I'm like, I'm late. Oh my, and it's just, I apologize for being late. That's
We've all done it. We've all done it. It's cool.
It's cool. You're okay. I think you frozen up. It's kind of frozen up a bit. But Angela, just a quick summarize, listening to this, Charles has just shared. What is your take into that?
The joy and the love. That the boundaries created that space where he could respect and honor his daddy, and then to be able to do that with your own kids was an amazing journey that you shared. And that's the part that we need to hear more of, about boundaries in our relationships. So thank you for sharing that beauty and showing that the spending the time with your dad was beautiful, and you doing the
and
same
then we
thing with
have
your
technical
kids.
issues.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I say one? Can
I
I say
don't
one
know
more
what
thing?
happened right there. I didn't touch anything. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Okay.
you. We can
I
hear
put it
you.
in the calculator for the time, and this time it shows up. My apology. I feel so, this is one of those embarrassing moments, but thank you for the grace and thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you. You're welcome. We're just asking questions around at the moment. So
My
we're
sound
just
went out.
summarizing a bit,
One
and then
second.
I'll come back to you with the question if you will. I'll come back to you with the question. But
Okay.
Lushen or Daniel, what do you think after listening to Charles? I mean, do we need that old-fashioned parenting back here in the 21st century? Daniel, what do you think?
I think we definitely need some aspects of it. 100%, I think, but not everything. Again, but we want to see if we can evolve in some way. We want to evolve more into love, and the question is, what is love? Yeah, and ultimately, does love mean that we have to impart these really strict boundaries, and if they're not adhered to, do we use rule the roost with an iron rod? Do we do that? I don't know. That wouldn't be my way. However, we do have to perhaps impart these boundaries. We have to communicate our message as parents. So what's the best way of doing that? And that's what we're here to discover, really. How do we do that in the best way possible? And from my perspective is if you're coming from a loving place and a caring and understanding place, then you can impart the message powerfully. And you don't necessarily need to use physical force. And I think personally that's something that we can move away from, as they used to do in the olden times.
Yeah. And you, Lushen, what do you think? Do we, after listening to Charles sharing the story with his dad, the journey, relationship he has with his dad, and him becoming a parent, and also the relationship he has with his children, what do you think? How could we bring that in the 21st century? What's your thought to it?
I think what really struck with me is the fact that you said that your father was a father first. He wasn't a friend. Now, I know where things are kind of softened now in this day and age, that, the boundaries have changed, or for want of a better way of saying it. And so we have this kind of thing where we have to be kind of more of a friend, if that makes sense, with our children. And I understand that, but at the same time, I understand that it's detrimental because I'm talking from my own experience. There was a time with my son, and I like to think I'm young at heart, and and there was certain things I had to. In the end, basically, I had to say to him, "Listen, I'm your father first, and your friend second." So I realized what I was doing. I was being like his friend, like his mate, and therefore he lost respect for me as an authoritative figure. And I realized, oh, and he spoke to me like you would speak to a friend, and which is, and so that respect was going, the lines were being blurred. And so I had to really start coming down, letting him know, listen, I'm your father first, and then I'm your
Yes,
friend.
sir.
I really had to
Yes,
really
sir.
implement that as well. I realized, oh, there's something I'm doing wrong, So overall, I do think this day and age as well, we seriously need to get back to the old traditions. The old traditions. I know, as Daniel was saying, that there's that way that was very strict, where a child is to be seen and not to be heard, and there was a lot of strict upbringing with caning and the belts. I don't agree going that far, but I understand of the right balance, and I don't really believe that you should not necessarily like what the Bible says. It says the Bible says spare the rod and spoil the child. And I know people are taking out of context to think, okay, well, we need to beat the life out of our children, and and that's not what it means at all. But it basically means we have to have a discipline. There has to be discipline, and that discipline is obviously in relation to how your child is. For example, with my daughter, all I have to do is give her a look, and that's enough. That's discipline. For my son, if I give him a look, that's not going to cut it. If I give him a slap, he's not giving and taking his stuff away. He's not going to cut it. I have to be careful what I say here, because certain things are not allowed anymore. But the certain old school ways of doing stuff I have to do, because otherwise, by the time he's 17, I'm going to be in trouble, and then he's going to be in trouble in the world, and then the world's wondering why the kids are running around, especially in England. I don't know how it is over in the States and England, and the schools can't handle their children because they've taken away that type of discipline, And so I totally agree and hear exactly what you were saying in regards to your upbringing with your father.
Thank you so much for sharing. You guys having this conversation.
Can I have 15 seconds? Can I have 15 seconds to say one more thing I think is really important?
All right.
You need to love their mothers. Love their mother. That to Daddy would take. I didn't sass my mom, Daddy, and there was a sense of love in the family. My mom and Dad. I grew. It may sound like Mayberry and Opie, but it wasn't even that a good analogy. But my folks stayed together. I grew up in a two-parent family, which was a blessing, and my mom and dad loved each other, and there was a lot of stability that came along with that. And you younger men, keep that in mind. Respect their mother.
Thank you so much. And I think for us as women out here, with my colleague, I think that is such a great advice. I feel it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, thank you so much for being here. As you can hear the conversation and everything, what can you take away from the conversation when we're talking about what Charles is sharing his story from his father, what he got from his father, bringing him up, to him bringing up his children, and he's been married for what, 54 years? Am I correct?
57.
Yeah.
57.
Wow.
57. So
I'm claiming every year.
Yeah, so he's seen that. So what is it now for fathers in this 21st century? What's going wrong in the fatherhood?
Yeah, fatherhood now is a big challenge in what I see, because a lot of the things that is it Lushen was referring to is like how we have to parent according to the rules that they have now. But I've learned that sometimes these rules, they're not just passed on to the father, they're passed on to the children also. And what I mean by that is the children now have these they're more emotional now than anything. And but there's this rhetoric that's always been where we shut little boys down from their emotions and we do certain things. And so any little thing that a father does to correct his child in a way, sometimes it's interpreted as you're shutting me down. And so that's the mental health that goes behind that is important, because if a child feels like they're being shut down and they don't feel like they're getting what they need, the feeling that they have is the realest thing in the world. And whether or not that you're showing high concern for whatever they're going through, allowing them to express their feelings, and even in expressing their feelings, that some of the challenges are the disrespect that comes behind expressing their feelings, because they don't know how to control their feelings. So now you have to parent in a different way to keep them respectful, to keep them in check. But then there's this balance, and I'll give you an example. My son and I were having a great day. I have 4 kids. I have 2 bonus kids and 2 of my own, and we're all together. And my oldest says something, and he's a highly emotional young boy. And when he starts to feel a certain way, it's the realest thing. Logic, throw it out the window. And I literally had to stop everything and have a conversation with the 4 of them, but just directly addressing him. And in doing so, his emotions gets to a certain level where I dismiss everybody else from this conversation, and he and I just go back and forth. And it's me lowering the emotional state, but just hitting with more truth and more truth, more truth. And as I do the truth, he doesn't like it. He doesn't like the truth. He wants, him and his mom and I got a divorce. And I literally had to start telling him, you don't like the fact that we got a divorce. And his anger just bruised. But that's the kind of truth that he needed, because he needed that anger to come out. He needed to address this situation. And if he doesn't address this situation straight on, then his anger will spill over in many different areas. But I will tell you, after that conversation, that direct conversation with him and I, he's been on a level of elevation that I've never seen in his life before. Sometimes we have to recognize that the feeling is real and allow them to have the feeling, but we also have to interject truth. And the truth is going to hurt. And the truth is it can break them or it can make them. And I feel like if, the truth shall set us free. And if the truth makes us free, then you need to hear more truth. And that's the way I feel like, a lot of times we have to do. So it's a balance of allowing a child to express an emotion, but also being able to parent through that emotion in a way where we're going to get emotional. We're going to feel what they're feeling, and we're going to want to do certain things. I just want to shut them down. Honestly, if there's things in my upbringing that I could not get away with half of the things my kids get away with. My face would be on the other side of the room in a second. But I do have great examples of good men. My grandfather is the first example. And as he, I hated everything that he did, but he taught me how to live as a man, to stand up and to do the hard things at times. My dad, he was more absent. Not absent in a sense of presence. His presence was there, but his ability to parent me as a man was missing. That was absent. For me, a lot of the hard knocks that I've been through in life, that's what allowed me to see a difference. There has to be something different. So a lot of times I find myself parenting, wanting to parent the way my parents parented me, and my dad and my grandfather and all those, but I also have to fight against that because there has to be a better way. And so that's, to me, parenting today, there's a lot of different challenges because we have more people speaking into how you parent than ever before.
Thank you so much. That is a really powerful answer to that. Because what I'm hearing from here is that obviously in this 21st century, 2024, how we parent our children has changed drastically. We can no longer parent them the way that our parents us. And I love what you've just shared. And thank you so much for being so open, so vulnerable by sharing the relationship you're having with your son and how you had to address the issue of being divorced from his mom and all the emotion that comes from it. And I love how you tied it all into together, how the new system is, how difficult it is for us bringing up our children, particularly male children that we going to bringing up here. Thank you so much. Just to throw in another question. We're going to go a little bit over our time today because I guessed with the time difference, so
Sorry
do
about
bear
that.
us a moment. But I think this conversation, it's needed to take place and it needs a bigger forum that we don't rush it. Okay. So I think so. What can we do? And this is for everybody now, before I move to my next question, just to summarize. And what can we do now for our young men out there, regardless what their color is? What can we do, put in place to help them right now? A couple of tips here and there, because we may have some fathers out there right now at this moment in time that are going through some serious challenges with their sons or their children. So please, what can we, quick tip, not too long, just one or two tips. Tell us, can I just start with you there with that question? You know.
So what can we do? And I think one of the things, a tip I would give is trust the process. When it comes to parenting, we don't know what we're doing. We have to trust that the way we're parenting is going to work out. There's so many different attacks on masculinity, on the way, I have 3 boys, 1 girl, and the way we parent different between them all sometimes disrupts the one of the others piece, I should say. So one may get some favor and the other one doesn't, and it disrupts the whole household. But I got to trust that doing that is really the right way to go about, engaging the children. I got to trust that the way I engage my oldest in direct truth, that's going to work better. So I would say trust the process is one of the things. Don't try to parent the future all in one day. If we make mistakes, we're going to make mistakes. It happens. Trust the process. Trust that the way the kids turn out is not your responsibility is parenting them now. Their responsibility is to make decisions later, and they're going to make decisions that may go contrary to what you believe. So don't try to control so much that it frustrates you every single day. And that's the thing. When we try to control everything, our frustration level goes way up. Anybody who's a controlling person is usually an angry person and or a frustrated person, I should say. And so we have to look into that, and we got to control that, because children won't remember everything you tell them. They'll remember how you make them feel. So trust the process.
Thank you so much. For anybody listening today to this talk show as a father, trust the process. And I think that is a brilliant advice there. Thank you so much, Thomas. Thank you. Charles, what about you here? Couple of minutes. Give us because you've gone through the journey. You are like the golden father here. So what would you say, please?
Well, I think that there's a resource that we often miss as young men, and that is that of a mentor. Children don't come with directions, as has been well said, but there's a structure. Your own father, my own father, could speak into what he thought about raising children. People who have are on down the road of life beyond you in this process can offer good advice to you, I think, at times, if they've successfully raised a family. And there's no magic to it. You just have to love your kids and do the best you can to mentor them and really just do the best you can. And you'll make mistakes, of course, as has been said, but listen to the some things you learn only by living, and people who have lived a little longer may have some good advice for you that would be helpful in where you are now.
Thank you so much. And from what I'm hearing from Charles, which I think it makes a perfect sense, have a mentor. As a father who's going through a lot of challenges, find somebody near you who have some really good positive experience. As a father that's going through, have a mentor. I think that is a great advice. Thank you so much, Charles. I appreciate that. Lushen.
Well, I think speaking to your children. I know that men compared in comparison to women, I think men need time to think. They have to think how to navigate the world and just life problems, catch a drift, and depending on how deep of a thinker you are, you can find yourself. And speak from my own experience, maybe a bit introvert. And then there's certain times when I can be quite quiet. I'm not really engaging with my children. I know that's due to being a single father. And so, there's times when the man may have to sit and reflect. And then you've got your kids there and you don't have a wife there. Obviously, if your wife is there, she'll spend time with the children, if that makes sense. And you can reflect and do what you need to do. And so because of that reason, of not being a single father, I found myself not really engaging so much with the kids, and I realized, no, this is not good. It's not good. And so I deliberately make the effort to speak to them more, to speak to them and find out about them, how they're doing, what they're thinking, even down to what they're dreaming. So I just believe even just what they're dreaming tells you a lot of what's going on. And really get to know them, the time goes so quick, and you could find out I realize that you can end up not knowing your children. That can easily happen. So I make the point of really engaging with them and knowing what is going on in their lives, even what Sauce thinking, so you can point out what negatives there are that can be dealt with, And that's one thing. And I think another thing is selfishness. And it's just things that I've seen through people that I know, other single fathers, and sometimes just due to the way the world is, certain ways, lifestyles that they may have, they may want to find their own ways of escapism. And those ways of escapism, I find some people have got that first instead of spending time with their children. I've been quite shocked at what people will do, certain fathers will do, and I can understand why, but it's still wrong. And the children will not forget that. So, for example, maybe they want to spend time with yourself, but you will find the time to go and enjoy yourself because you need to escape, basically being selfish. But in the long run, that will cause damage. The children will wake up and you get that same thing, the rejection and everything else. And I realised, okay, my father's not there for the little things. For example, there's certain things which I can remember where I've asked my father to do bits and pieces with me, just simple little things, and he didn't do so because he wanted to go out and party. And it sticks with me. You catch a drift. And so my point is there just spending, basically self-sacrificing and spending all the time that you can with your children and getting to know them. And yeah, that's the best I've got to input in regards to that question.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Just summarizing what you're saying is really taking time to reflect. You being a single father, because I know definitely being a single father is not easy, because we've gone through the journey, and with Angela here being a single mother, it's not easy to spend time, time with yourself and reflect as well, and speaking to your children as well. Thank you so much. That is really great. Thank you, Lushen, because there is a lot more that you put in. Thank you so much. Daniel, what do you think?
Yeah, for me, it really comes down to connection. Now there's certain things you can do to improve that connection, and it's already been mentioned here, trust, communicate as well with your children, but there are deeper levels of connection as well. So for example, often our kids will do and say things that go against our wishes, and what happens is these emotions within us start getting triggered. We get angry, we get frustrated, we get upset, and often we can resort to old traditional means of dealing with our children. But the way I see it is that it's really important it's happening. Why is I'm not being, and I will deal with it at the leveling and within itself. It may be that what you is triggered within you is as you resolve that at the emotional level, all of a sudden now you see this situation differently, and your level of connection improves. And often, like, as fathers, we're told don't express our grief, hold it in, and that in itself creates disconnection. So if we don't allow grief to express itself, we create a barrier between us and everyone else around us. But as we allow that expression of emotion and clearing in a conscious way, all of a sudden those barriers that we formed are now dissolved, and now we can come from a more powerful place. And it's that place that when our children trigger those emotions within us and we can clear them, then all of a sudden we are now more deeply connected. That's when our words can come more from love. But if we hold those emotions in, and it's hard for anger, for frustrations by their actions, we're not dealing with a root. You've got to come from a place where we take responsibility for our emotions, and in doing so we can create a deeper sense of connection with our children. And that's why I think we're connecting externally through playing, for communication, for talking, for doing the fatherly duties, but then we're also connecting at a much deeper level within us.
Can I say something real quick?
Thank you. Yes, of
regarding
course.
that? It was so interesting about listening to what Daniel was saying and everybody's saying. We're showing the example of what it's like to be a man. And so whatever example we put out there, that's what kids are picking up. I mean, my kids walk like me. They try to mimic me in everything. There's all these things that they're trying to mimic me. And I even see them trying to mimic my parenting style to the other kids and control things. And so we got to, I think what he's sharing is so powerful in the sense that we have to be mindful that we're being looked at, and they're going to follow our lead on these emotional ways that we handle things, or how we overcome, the way we apologize about them, because we do have feelings. We're people. We're going to mess up, but we have to be able to understand that aspect of it too. That was so powerful what he said.
Yeah, the whole conversation is very, very powerful. Before we move to the next one, thank you so much. There's something, Lushen, you said that really touched me. And being a lone parent, definitely understand that because I had to bring up two boys. And one thing I know within myself, bringing two boys as a lone parent, as a woman, one thing I made it really, really clear is that I could never validate them as a man. But however, I can bring them to be men of good character. So I thrive on that. But one of the things that I did, with my youngest one, I kind of had to establish because he was so quiet. So he was devious, So I couldn't figure out how to reach him. So I developing, which later on play out, and was develop a relationship. Me and him are friends, so I can get him to open up, And I find that just using that, I was able to reach him at a deeper and a higher level because he can now come and speak to me. And up to today, we still got that relationship. He's all about business. My son is all about business. When he comes down, we talk about business, I coach him and everything. But there are times he overstepped the boundaries. And I'm not a wicked mother. I'm not, just in case anybody, but there were times I had to pick up the pot. He was taller than me. You know that? Oh, I know you're 20 something, but still under my roof. But let's sort it out.
Yeah.
And from there, I think also because he crossed the boundary of me being friends. And I said to him, that those days are gone. You're in your 20s now, right? But here now is we're going to talk about respect. So I really hear what you're saying as a single parent and how we have to make that boundary so clear, being friends and being a parent. So yeah, thank you so much. Angela, what's your take into this? Listening to all this. I know also you're a single parent. What do you think?
Absolutely. My head is constantly doing this today, right? And thinking about, having the character, raising a good kid, raising a good person, and having those boundaries. I frequently tell my kids that I am not your friend. I love you and I'm going to respect you, but I'm not your little friend, right? And I say little because I'm shorter than them. So they think they're, in charge, but I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, this question that I'm going to ask, I know we don't talk much about it. Mental health with men. We really don't talk. So I want to touch as a parent, also as a single parent. How's your mental health? Since you laugh, Lushen, I'm starting with you.
My mental health is good, praise God. I'm fine with it. But yeah, I've just moved myself. Okay. Yeah, with myself, it's the case. I'm a Christian and a man of God, and that's what's really kept my feet on the ground and kept me in truth. It's the power of the Lord that's just taken me through. I could look back and I think, boy, be quite frank, how do people get through without the Lord? And I just realized, I'm don't mean to be derogatory in any shape or form, but I just realized people don't, they just cope. And I've seen on the other sort of life where I'm coming from is a typical lifestyle from of somebody whose teens was in the 90s. You've got the drug scene, the club scene, everything else, which is totally I'd say it's kind of debauchery, to be quite frank. And and I've seen my friends as they've grown up, had children, got wives, some single fathers, and so on and so on. There is an epidemic, a mental health epidemic. It's kept quiet. Well, it's not mentioned as much as what it should be, especially amongst the men. And I just see that. How can I put it? People have just gone to. They've found a way of coping by using drugs, drink, all manners of stuff which are really detrimental, which kind of the world tells you that's the right way to find an escape. And I would say, in regards to that, if I didn't have the Lord, then I don't like to think of where I may well have been just to cope with certain things. allow people to go down to other avenues as well. They might end up doing their sports, boxing, and going to the gym. But as you get older, that's a little bit different. As you know, you don't have as much time, don't have the energy. And I still see men that are older than myself, maybe in their 50s, and they're out partying and all other manners of stuff. And you see, it's just to cope with life. And it really isn't the way, forward. And it's just an escapism. It's an escapism from issues which are never really going to go away. I suppose, in a nutshell, to be quite frank, being a man of faith and knowing that what I know is true. The only way to cope is the Lord Jesus Christ. That's all I have to say, really, in regards to the mental health side of things. And I'll just have to throw this in there. You can see as the world kind of moves away from, especially in the West, the bottom line is the way the West has moved away from actually Jesus Christ and its Judeo-Christian values and its foundation. As it's completely moved away from it, you've seen a decline in every area. And it speaks for itself. Once you take the blinkers off the eyes, you can see that is the case of why everything's actually declined. People would argue, okay, well, other nations, they have Islam or they have other bits and pieces. I don't mean to bring religion into it, but it is the crux of it. But the lifestyles and things are totally different to if you compare it to a Christian nation. So as we've fallen away, you've seen a detriment into people's lives. And that's the only way. I speak to all my pals that I know. They know I've got pals at the moment about drinking, boozing, their families are falling apart. All I speak to them is preach the gospel. It's as simple as that. And deep down, they know it's the only way. And they've been wanting to kill themselves. Some have killed themselves. I had a pal the other day. He was drinking. He just felt totally lost. He wants to kill himself. Come to church, you know? And that's all I have to say on the matter. Sorry to be kind of dogmatic, but that's it really in a nutshell.
Thank you so much for sharing. I mean, that just takes me back. That's what I'm so passionate about, doing what I'm doing in terms of the Father Talk Show, because there was a story that I was, when I was preparing all this program about the platform, to create a platform for men to come and share. It was a single father, done everything that he needed to do on that day. Very little, because he always smiled, dropped his child off to school, and then he went and killed himself because he couldn't cope anymore. And I think one of the story was he never had enough money to do the things he wanted to do, to pay the bills and everything. And also, as the article went on, it says a lot of men don't speak, all right, what they're going through, what they're feeling. And for me, when I read that story, I knew I was in the right place to carry on doing what I'm doing in the platform. So thank you for touching on that side, because there are a lot of men out there who are taking their lives. Daniel, can I bring you into that? What can men out there who are going through such a mental health situation thinking of taking their life, please?
Yeah, I mean, like, we know what kind of assistance we can give him. I think, again, it's very rare that for a man to be vulnerable, and often it's because maybe he feels like he's not heard, or and I feel there's a great change that is happening on the planet at this time, and it's not just for men, it's for women. The truth about ourselves internally is coming up. The truth about the systems that govern the planet are coming up as well. Everything's been exposed. So if you have pain inside of you and it's coming up, then there are lots of different ways of doing this. One of them is meditation. One of them is going to church, speaking with God. There are different methods of coping with that emotion. Some of it just speaking with your friends and saying, look, I'm going through a difficult time, or going to a support group. So there's a number of different ways that men can do that. And I think it's just having the courage to take that step in reaching out to someone that you trust, And that could even be an anonymous organization that someone that help, like for example yourself, or the men here who have gone through challenges as well. And that often itself helps a lot. Just someone to speak to, it could make the difference. A small, conversation can make the difference between, deciding to here or check out. But it's not easy, and intensify. I feel all of these emotions are going to intensify in the future.
Thank you so much. Thomas, what about you? I'm not sure what it's like in the States with the men, with the mental health situation out there. For me to hear a man taking a single father taking his life due that he didn't feel he was man enough. He didn't feel that he was creating the financial being to provide for their child. And I've heard that so many times as I mentor and coach men. That's come up so many times. What is your take on that? What can men out there if they're suffering mental health?
There's a lot of different ways we can approach mental health. I mean, mental health is a topic that goes back to biblical days, and we can see in the Bible and so many other ways. I know growing up for me, the challenges I had were environmental and, being influenced by so many different things. There's so much influence today because we have the technology we have, the access we have to technology. It creates mental health challenges within men. We see things on Instagram and we desire those things, and it creates a mental health challenge. One of the things I would say is always bring it back to reality and being able to have people around that are stable. For me, I have to agree with Lushen. My faith is what drives my mental health. When I went through the divorce some years ago, anytime there's something wrong, the way I've learned to handle mental health challenges is not to look outward, it's look to inward and
Absolutely.
Find out where I'm at. Where am I at in this space? Am I reacting a certain way? Am I challenging certain areas? Because if I can do a self-assessment first, then I can find the help that I need for that, whatever I'm going through. I can understand the road that I'm traveling is maybe not the best road to go. Let me back up. I was married for 18 years and went through a divorce after 18 years being with this person, almost 2 decades. And I'm going to put it to you the way we say it in the streets. Getting back out here, in the States, getting back out here in these streets was kind of interesting. It was almost as if everything I wanted, the attention I wanted in childhood, I had in adulthood now. And, so I had to really look at myself, and because we think of mental health challenges as this negative. We can have mental health challenges and have these experiences that I'm going out here now that I have all this access to all these people, and I'm going to misuse all these people. Or I know I can't have these relationships with all these women, but they're all attracted to me. So, I could do as much. That's a mental health cry in itself. And so knowing that I had that access, I had to also come back to myself and say, I'm no longer this little kid who, when I was a kid, that's the access and the attention I wanted. As an adult, I didn't want to not be married. I still want to be married. And that's why I'm married again now. But I wanted to find somebody who can connect. But the mental health behind that is, if I start going down a road that's hard to recover from, that's an addictive road. If I start going, I start creating these addictions in my life, and then I start creating more mental health challenges, more issues, because this person wants my time, this person wants my time, and then I forget about my kids. My kids were the most important part of the process of what, do I find myself out here, and what example am I putting out there? They have to know that I always wanted to be married. And this is, I want to show them what a loving relationship looks like. And so, so it helped me to back off. So my way of supporting men in this space and thinking about mental health, don't think of mental health as always the negative thing. We always have to challenge ourselves. We have to look at where we're putting our time and our efforts toward. And I'll tell you, one of the mental health challenges for men that I've found through all my work. I work with thousands of people who've been incarcerated, and a lot of them are fathers. A ton of them are fathers. And one of the things that men we forget to do is to challenge everything we know, because a lot of the stuff we learned in adolescence. We learned how to be a man in adolescence. We learned how to treat a woman in adolescence. We thought this is what masculinity and bravado looked like. But when we became of age and we became a man, we never checked the way we thought. The things we learned as a kid, we never learned to check those things. So when the way we learn to be a man as a kid doesn't work in adulthood, that creates a mental health challenge also. That creates this fire that I have to do something, because life can't pass me by. So people begin to make irrational decisions, and it's based upon a lot of the things that they've learned that they have never really went back to check and see on themselves. So things go unchecked, and when they go unchecked like that, of course, it's going to be a challenge in life. And so I think with mental health, we always have to do a self-check first, and then we have to find the help. When we figure out the things about ourselves, then we have to find the help that we need for those things.
Thank you so much. That is such a powerful statement that you've just given. So like, check yourself, look inside yourself. And I love the part that you said, all the things that you did at adolescent, now you become a man, we haven't changed the process of thoughts. That is a really good thing. Thank you so much. Now, Charles, I mean, hearing your story, hearing your journey, I'm not sure back in your days or your father's days to now, is there such thing as mental health? And if there was, in your time now, being a father and everything, how did you deal with it, kind of thing? So yeah, let's hear you, Charles.
Well, I'm a man of faith, and I feel like that that's the key to balance in my life. I've had experiences as a younger man that I had to deal with that were a little. I'm not going to get into it, but as a young adult, well, my adult life began in the United States Marine Corps back in 1965, and so I had experiences that stayed with me for years that I never talked about with anyone, and really still haven't talked about it all to anyone of any other than just that I had was there. But it took me a long time to realize that I never felt like there was anyone to talk to, because I didn't think there was anyone that would understand, and I never knew what to say, and I really didn't want to think about it. and I in later life, I went through, and I'm talking about like the last 10 years. I went through what I can only define as a spiritual transformation. I just started thinking about things and coming to grips with things that had really tormented me for all of my adult life, really. And it was I look back, and there were times when I thought God was a million miles away from me, but I started realizing that he was always there, and I just didn't know it, and I didn't reach out to him. and uh, he was always reaching out his hand for me, and I just wasn't paying any attention to it. But in later life, I just I found peace. Still don't talk about it, but there's no sense now. But I found peace, and uh, someone asked me, the greatest treasure to me is just peace of mind, and coming to grips with yourself. And I liked what was said, that when I look back, all of my problems, as I look back over my life, it was always me. It was never it, them, this or that. That was just a way of self-justification and not dealing with your problem. But it was always me. And when I took complete and full responsibility for every aspect of my life, uh, even my feelings, uh, in my book, I talk about the four golden questions. And I don't have time to get into all of that now, but we do four things all the time, all day long. We do things, we say things, we think things, and we feel things. And I started asking myself, what would be the wise thing to do? What would be the wise thing to say? What would be the wise thing to be thinking about? And what would be the wise thing to feel? And it transformed my life by causing me to pause and just give a little thought to what I was about to say or do, and things seem to work out. But take responsibility for yourself, and trust in God to sustain you. That's my feelings on the subject.
Thank you so much for sharing. It's really deep, thank you. And I love, again, kind of goes in hand what Thomas said: take responsibility, look deep inside you, and take responsibility. Thank you so much. Okay, Angela, hearing these great kings, now you know why I'm calling these men, they are kings. And we need to celebrate you guys as kings. So hearing these amazing kings opening up and sharing, how does that make you feel as a woman listening to this? I know, I wish I could have had that back in my days, bringing up two boys.
Amazing conversations, amazing journeys. It feels hopeful. I feel peaceful. I feel that it's a reason to celebrate fatherhood. It's a reason to celebrate each person and the journey, and it's exciting. It just warms my heart to hear the conversations and to hear about the journey and what is true for each person. It's so different, but it's still connected in the same. We talked about faith, we talked about spirit, we talked about our journeys, and it really is all the same, just spoken in different languages. It was amazing. And Margaret, I can't believe, because of the time change, I forgot something that's right across from my way. And I have to get this because we're celebrating fatherhood today, and I cannot stay right here without having it. So give me 1 second, but thank you, everybody.
Yeah, go ahead, because I got one more question to round off, and then obviously we come to you. Now, there's one more question, and thank you so much. I really, truly appreciate you kings opening up, and you shared so honestly, and I truly appreciate you. And I mean it with all my heart when I said you are kings. And if we go back to the Bible, men were created first, not women, men. So we need to give you that respect all the time. So thank you so much. Now, what are your aspirations for yourself and for your children? Okay, what are your aspirations? I'm going to start with you, Daniel. What are your aspirations for yourself and for your daughter?
To be honest, I have very simple aspirations, just to lead a good life, Same with my daughter, that she's happy, that she finds something that she loves to do. And for me, it's to really lead a purpose-filled life. So, you know, a life where I can make a difference, I can help people. And yeah, that's it. It's very simple things, nothing more than that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Lushen, what are your aspirations for yourself and for your children as we move on 2024 and going forward?
Okay, so along the same lines as Daniel, aspirations, first and foremost, for my children, I just want to see my children, I suppose as all parents would do, be successful in life, but with integrity, you know. It's not just all about being rich, you know. I just love to see them being fully rounded in all areas, you know, and especially morally, that they be able to stand on their 2 feet, make the right choices. We know we do make wrong choices, all part and parcel of the process, but to see them make right choices in regards to the Lord Jesus Christ, to be quite frank. That's my main aspiration for them. And I suppose in regards to that, once they have their moral compass and their beliefs strong and anchored in the Lord, and everything else falls in place as scriptural. For myself, just the same really, and be able to always be able to provide for my children, you know, and just be able to give, like what Daniel was saying, be able to give unto others, and have a strong pull towards this modern day rhetoric, which is a complete farce, you know, and to be able to really combat that, you know. You can even see just with this platform in itself is a start of that, you know. And I think that's really what is truly my aspirations in life. Is quite simple, you know, and that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you so much, Charles. Thank you so much for sharing so beautifully and so honestly. I mean, the same question, from now today, being here, what are your aspirations for yourself, for your family, for your children in this being a man in 2024?
Well, my aspirations at this stage in my life, I just want to I want to be a servant of God, and I feel like there might be a sense of providence in the way my life is turned in my later years, becoming a writer, and the influence that my book seems to be having on the lives of other people based on what they tell me. I don't know if y'all know about my book. It's a Ponder on It, Pilgrims, and it's a 3-time #1 international bestseller that sold in 26 different countries, and it's just about living wise, making good decisions, not being a fool, and loving everybody, loving your neighbor as yourself, and just the universal principles that should guide all of us. And what seems to be unique about the book is that I hear over and over and over that, you know, it's all so simple, but nobody's saying it. And I want to be the one that perhaps is saying it, trying to make people realize that self-restraint, things like that are extremely important. I like to say one of my Texas grit sayings is that wisdom will always be the first casualty of unrestrained behavior. And if you're wondering whatever happened to wisdom, no, when's the last time you heard someone referred to as wise? We've not only lost the word, we've lost the concept of it, because we've become a culture that's degenerated into unrestrained behavior. And that's a big part of our problem. And self-discipline, first and foremost, serves you and serves you well. And so my aspirations, is just to try to maybe say something that'll be helpful to people from the years that I've lived. Maybe I've learned a few things, and to be pleasing to God.
That's awesome. Thank you. That is absolutely awesome. What about you, Thomas? What is now, being a man in 2024? What is your aspiration for yourself, for your children?
Foundation for my manhood is my faith in Jesus. That's where it all started. My world changed the day that I accepted that. So my aspirations has been the same ever since, to trust in the Lord with all my heart and lean not to my own understanding. So I know that sounds cliche, but I want that for my kids. I want them to be able to hear the voice of God. I want them to be able to live a life that shows that they love God. God, we say that we love God, but do we show it? And so I want them to experience that love and see it. I want them to be able to give it. I believe that that's the key to everything for them, whatever they desire, because I believe this one thing that we all on this call and everyone that I've taught and everyone I've come across, I believe there's one thing we all want. We want peace. And the peace that passes all understanding is in him. And so I want peace for them. I want them to have a life that not without disruptions or anything, but even through the midst of the disruptions, they have peace. I want them to experience the fullness of what life has to offer here, not in a way of receiving everything, but what life has to offer so you can give of yourself even more. We have so much to give, and a lot of times I believe a lot of the challenges we see is we've become a I society, and I'm not going to knock the iPhone and Apple and all that other stuff, but we've become an I society. And I think if we become more of a society that's giving, that's caring, that's engaging, we can see a lot of the challenges that are out there. So for my children, I hope that I could be a good example of what that looks like. That's really, I know that's part of my responsibility. It's not all of my responsibility because they're going to make choices, but as long as I can live my life out that way, and my hope is that they take a lot of what I'm giving to them and they're able to implement that into their choices and the things that they're going to do moving forward.
Thank you so much. I'm blown away, Kings. I am absolutely blown away. Thank you so much for sharing and so open and so honest, and you're able to be also share with your vulnerability. So thank you so much. Now, Angela, I know you are our special guest. We kind of run out of time, but I wanted to give the men time, the Kings in the house, Father's Day, time to express being a man in 2024, because we all know it's not easy, whether you're full married or you're single parent, whatever it is, there are those challenges now because parenthood has changed drastically. So I'm going to give you an honor, but 10 minutes for you to summarize and also just to share with us, please.
Thank you so much. And I'll be really quick. The conversations today have been one of the most amazing pieces I've heard in a long time, with a group of men from different different parts of the world, different backgrounds. It's a beautiful thing to see the unity in the room about what it means to be a father in 2024 to each one of you. And to sum up, that faith is huge part of that, that you keep going through your faith, that you want your the next generation to be able to lead in the same way that you lead. And you guys are actually doing this every day, and sometimes you don't realize it, but today you did. And sharing that vulnerability was one of the most amazing gifts that I have received, and I am not a father. So thank you for giving me the gift of fatherhood. Thank you for coming and sharing your stories and the vulnerabilities, because without knowing your vulnerabilities, we can't work together to be better for our kids. So thank you so much for that, for sharing that vulnerability today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Angela, and thank you so much. And as I hear your stories, Kings in the house, well, you reinforced for me that I'm in the right place and I'm doing the right thing. And that for me, this program is God-centered. Because most time when I go out there and last week I went out to a network event, which was face to face. Everybody shared what they were doing. Then I said, well, I specialize in, inspiring, motivating men, single fathers. And for the women, I'll get, what? But what women kind of stuff. But then with the men, it's the most interesting that I get. Oh, can you just repeat that? Did you say you specialize in working with men, not women? I said, yes. And then the next thing they will say, but you're a woman.
Okay.
You're a woman. So
Yes.
and sometimes I answer and say to them, oh, really? I forgot to check this morning. And then I'm just making it light and everything. But what this does for me is that I give all the glory to God, because he's making it possible to create and also to bring you guys here today. He's done it all, and we give all God the glory. And obviously, I say thank you so much as we're coming to almost to an end. But Thomas, you come a little bit late. Just tell us in a few minutes who you are, because you came in and I just threw the questions to you, and I'll come back to Charles to share. So please, in a few minutes, tell us who you are and your work, because you do an amazing work, because we had a quick chat. So tell us, please.
Yeah. Again, my apology for being late, the time zone. I'm here in the United States, and I am the founder and CEO of a nonprofit organization called Redemption and Advancement, where our mission is to disrupt the cycles of incarceration. When it comes to incarceration, that is in my history and my background. I was born and raised in Southern California during the height of gangs and a lot of different other things, and found myself wrapped up in different other stuff that I probably never should have been in. But I was able to, through God coming into my life like a gangbuster and transforming me, was able to really transform my life. And I know that what I've been given is a gift, so I give it away. I'm also a part of a movement called Fathers Matter, ATL. It's based out of Atlanta, Georgia. And we work through a lot of different challenges that fathers experience. And we have 7 different strategies that we work through. My strategy that I co-lead in is in mass incarceration. And so we help to deal with the challenges that fathers have when it comes to mass incarceration, such as housing, such as legitimation or connecting with their kids and families and communities. And so we do that. And there's so much more that's being done. And I can go on and on and on about the work that I do, but my mission in life is to love God and show that love to my neighbors through kindness and service. And so my life is a life of service and engagement for people. And I develop my platform so that, we can figure out ways to engage relationship with people and really help them move beyond some of the challenges and barriers they faced in life. And so I've been given a gift to be able to do this and live it out daily. And it's a definite blessing. I'm grateful to be here. The reason why I'm here is I am, as I mentioned, I went through a divorce. So I was a single father for a little bit, and navigating the world of coming from a relationship and two-parent household, and now my kids are disrupted and they have to go through two different households. We have we have a joint legal and joint physical. So I have them 1 week, she has them 1 week, and so they have to navigate this new world. I have to navigate the world of singleness as a man, with also raising my children through this challenge and traumatic event. And how does that look, and how do I continue to walk that out? And so I felt that when this was brought to me as an opportunity, that this is such a good topic. It's really necessary and needed, and men find themselves in different spaces and places. And we have to be transparent in these spaces, that we can show other people that what we're feeling is okay, and what we're going through is okay, and that what you want to do is not over with. We just have to continue to trust and believe and walk out our faith, and really continue to live that out to the best of our ability.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Now, Charles, again, you kind of come a little bit late, so we didn't get you to share who you are. So in a few minutes, like 2-3 seconds, I know it's short because of time-wise, tell the viewers who you are. I know you're an author. I looked at your book, and yes.
Well, just through the years, I've been a businessman, and I retired when I was 74. And I wrote my first book when I was 76. And I'm writing my second one now, called Texas Grit. And it should be out sometime in the next, I don't know, 6 months maybe. But I've become an author in my old age. And as I think I said before, I'm having the time of my life, just telling people what I think about things, if they'll listen to me, and have some great people working with me that deserve all the credit. I had I just, came out of nowhere and started writing on LinkedIn, and everything else has moved out from that. So just some old guy writing books, and tried to make a little bit of a difference. That's who I am.
Thank you so much. It's so inspirational. It goes to show, man, I agree with you. Let's just applaud this man. Come on, let's just say, yeah, we appreciate you, because what you demonstrate today doesn't matter our age. We really doesn't matter our age. We can still do it. That's what I'm taking from you. We can still do it. And thank you so much. I applaud. So, right, we're wrapping up, coming up to an end. So, I'm just going to ask how the viewers out there, can they reach you? Because I got most of your information. When I do the write-up and get this going on YouTube live and everything, I will be putting your information on the write-up as well, individually as well. But just here now, if I start with you, Thomas, how can the viewers, if somebody out there, because what you're saying, you're working with people in prison, and we've got that here as well. Maybe there's somebody from the UK who's heard that, they want to work with you, or somewhere else. How could they reach you? How could they work with you?
Yeah, there's a lot that I do, so I don't have all these other places. Just go to thomascotton3, the number 3.com. thomascotton3.com. So
thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. What about you, Charles? I know you're heavy on LinkedIn because I do follow you on LinkedIn. What about you?
CharlesHamm.com. There's more on there than you probably want to know. Had great people work that website up for me, and if you go to my website, you'll get a sense of what I'm doing, and what I want to do, from writing, and also I didn't mention I'm becoming a public speaker too, which is a lot of fun. And I'm not a slick, polished speaker. I just get up and talk like I do, and tell people what I think. But it seems to be going over pretty well. So uh, that's me. CharlesHamm.com. I'd appreciate it if you looked at my website.
Thank you so much. Thank you. What about you, Lushen? How could they reach you if they want to work with you? I want to say to all of you out there, this amazing background jobs that you've seen, it is designed by this amazing young man, Lushen. Come and tell us, how could they reach you?
You can reach me on Create, which is CR8 at Throne Room. That's Throne Room Designs, and the S is a Z and not an S. So create at throneroomdesigns.co.uk. I'm a graphic designer by profession, so any graphic design service that you need, whether it be digital or print-based, small business startups, flyers, logos, small websites, business cards, branding, anything like that you require. I'm your man, by the grace of God.
Amen to that. Thank you. What about Daniel?
Yeah, you can just reach me at clearthepath.co.uk. That's probably the simplest way.
Thank you so much. And Angela, how could they reach you? I know we didn't get into your topic, but I would be getting you men back again. Trust me, I'll be contacting you. So, but if they want to reach you and they want to contact, want to have a word with you, talk with you, how could they reach you?
Absolutely. You can reach me on my work platforms and social media with the Wifey Life Tribe, where we talk about intimacy and love and how to maintain that in this time and day and age. And you can also reach me at Angela Renee Connor as well if you pull up my name, because I work with HR, nonprofits, and that type of thing. So anything dealing with people, Angela Renee, Mistress Angela Renee, all of the above.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I want to take this amazing and wonderful opportunity to all our viewers out there to say thank you so much for all your support, liking the page in YouTube and thumbs up. We want to say thank you. I know this is a conversation that we will definitely would be visiting very soon, because we need these amazing great kings, to come and talk. So, and find how we can support you, and also to make the world a better place. But we also, as you hear all their stories today and their journey being a father, how it's changed and transformed and how it's gone. So we just want to encourage you, like all the speakers today, they say, know the truth. Start with you, listening. And yes, you're going to go and make some mistake as a father or even as a mother. That's okay. It shows that you're human. So I want to say this opportunity. Thank you so much to all our viewers. God bless you. And I look forward to us. And if you want to contact the Father Talk Show, we are on YouTube, very much in LinkedIn, very much all the social platforms, so you can reach us at any time. We are looking for speakers, but I'll be coming back